Good morning. You have found us at the corner of Lunt and Glenwood, as we are every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. for Live from the Heartland, presented over the Chicago Sound Alliance, WOUW 88.7 on your dial. It is, thank you, a sunny morning in Chicago. First one in, I don't know how long. I've stopped keeping track, but get out and just lie down on the leaves and get your vitamin D, fellow Chicagoans, because, you know, it's been a rough week. My name is Katy Hogan. I'm your host today on Live from the Heartland. We've got a happening show, as usual. We have three great guests. We're going to hear from Danielle Brothers, an actress and an incredible, in the incredible role of Don Quixote de la Mancha. She will speak about playing Don Quixote later today. We've got Tracy Siska, a friend who you may remember, who is the executive director of Chicago Justic Project. They got a little news this week. They released a report this week. We're going to hear about their study of the Chicago Police Board, a 10-year analysis. And right now, you and I together are meeting my first guest, Mr. Martin Conlisk. Welcome to Live from the Heartland, Martin.
Thank you, Katy. Thank you for having me here.
Martin is also something of a media guy. You do Labor Beat.
I've been involved with Labor Beat, which is on cable access network CanTV here in Chicago for about 16, 17 years, yeah.
That's great. So it's a CanTV show, and it comes out on channel 20?
19. 19 Thursday night, 9:30, and Friday at 4:30. We also play in Evanston 6 times a week also. And also Urbana, Peoria, Rockford, Princeton, New Jersey. We get out there.
So Labor Beat, meaning you're covering unions and non-union labor-related issues alike?
Sure. Picket lines, rallies, demonstrations. For the last 6 years, though, I've been pretty much my work is pretty much focused on anti-war efforts, because war, by far, is the most anti-labor thing you can possibly do.
That's a good point of view. I mean, that's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. I'm an electrician by trade also, and the U.S. military blew up the finest electrical grid in the world in Baghdad.
Wow.
So, as electrical solidarity, I find that pretty abhorrent.
Well, as the daughter and sister of electricians, I want to say, oh yeah. And what union do you belong to? Or did you?
134 here in Chicago. You know.
Okay, we'll talk about that off the air later.
Oh, sure.
But Martin just introduced me to a new name for a neighborhood. The neighborhood I grew up in was called Mount Greenwood. I asked Martin, where'd you grow up? Because I could tell he was a South Sider, don't you know? We can pick each other out. And he said, Mount Greenwood Heights. Whoa, baby. And I totally buy the explanation that Mount Greenwood Heights had curbs and gutters, whereas Mount Greenwood did not.
Yes.
And in fact, I got to point out, the mayor that brought Mount Greenwood curbs and gutters, Harold Washington.
I remember that quite clearly, yes.
Well, the people at Mount Greenwood didn't think that way about Harold until he brought them curbs and gutters, and I think he changed a few minds.
Yes.
All right, you've had some exciting adventures lately. We're going to talk about an event that's coming up on Friday, but prior to getting to the Labor Beat fundraiser event, I'd like to hear about your adventures and travels this past year. You were invited, or Labor Beat received an invitation that you responded to?
Yeah, and we received an invitation from Japan, and we had allies from Japan, Peace TV, which is a internet channel, and they invited one of us to go over there, and I really wanted to go, and it was really a terrific experience for me. There was a first international video fest against war and poverty was the name of it, and it was sponsored by Japan Peace TV, Genco, which is the affiliate of peace groups, and another organization, Movement for Social Democracy. And it was a 10-day tour, 5-city tour. And accompanying me was Mr. Salak Al-Jabbar from Sana TV in Baghdad, and they're a satellite channel. And it was quite an experience.
10 days in Japan. That's a lot of time for you can cover some ground.
I was treated royally. I have a huge interest now in Japan society, and it was quite life changing. And we went to Okinawa, Kyoto, Osaka, Tokyo, and Hiroshima, of course, which I'd like to talk about.
Go ahead, talk about it.
In this tour, we each had a translator with us. You know, a lot of the talk was from English to Japanese to Arabic, and Arabic to Japanese to English. And
I love those conversations.
Yeah.
They take about 3 times as long, but they're still really cool.
Yeah, it forced me to talk much slower and thoughtfully. And we had presentations in front of students, in front of peace groups, all over, press conferences. We covered a lot of ground. It was run. But we went to the Hiroshima Peace Museum one afternoon, and I would suggest that everybody, every school child should go there. It was quite moving, and the next day, getting in a taxi cab to go to the train station to go back to Osaka, we were in a taxi cab, me, Mr. Sala, and our 2 translators, and I was in the front seat of the taxi cab, and they're talking in the back, and my translator leans up in front and says, Mr. Sala says that the destruction that he saw yesterday at that Peace Museum reminds him of conditions in Baghdad today. And I'm the only American on this venture, and I just wish Americans would understand that the way I felt it. It was just a horrible position to be in.
Wow. You know, thank you for giving us that image, and also good for you that you were in a situation to be the only American. It's a rare privilege to be somewhere where you're the only one from this place, the belly of the beast, as it were. Right. To hear from other people from around the world. It's a privileged place to be without other Americans around you.
Well, what I learned about Japanese society and the peace movement in Japan is they're 2 generations removed from militarization. And now that the economy collapsing also over there,
right?
They're pushing people into youngsters into the military or special defense forces, I guess they call it.
Right.
And the people are rising up against it in a very organized, solid way, because in the Genko group, I got the feeling that most of them were made up of school teachers, and the motto of the Japanese Teachers Union, formed after World War II, was "No more shall we send our children to the battlefield."
Right.
And I asked them to send a letter to Marilyn Stewart over here in Chicago, because Chicago Public Schools seems to be just a recruiting ground for the military these days. The Japanese are way ahead of us on it, and they're playing a key role in fighting America in the military. They just elected a new prime minister, and he's giving the Americans a fit.
The prime minister, how is he reacting? I mean, if he's part of this move towards militarizing.
No, the new prime minister is not.
Is not.
There's issues at Okinawa on the bases. He withdrew
right.
naval support from the Afghanistan effort, Japanese naval support, and so I understand that Obama's going over there personally to confront him, and he has huge support of the Japanese people on these endeavors.
And has the recent activity with North Korea pushed some of this, fear to so we got to be defensive at least mentality in the
right.
Japanese people? And
it has. I'm no expert. I just read. I read more and more about Japan, but people can find what they need to know better than what I can say about it. Yeah, so there is a reactionary element in Japan, that's for sure.
Yeah.